a nice long look at this car and try and guess, how old do you think it is? 60? 70? 80 years old? Would you believe it if I told you that this, in 2021, is a brand new car? Nope, I'm not bluffing. This is the Plus 6, the latest and greatest from the Morgan Motor Company, a 112-year-old institution from the English Midlands. Founded in 1909, Morgan began by making three-wheelers, which was cheap transportation for the masses. Then, in 1936, it released its first four-wheel model, and then over the next 8 decades, seemingly forgot to tell anyone to update the styling. At the same time, Morgan also refused to change the distinctly traditional way the cars are built, although in the years since, it's evolved into more of an art form than a manufacturing process. There are tons of fascinating details around this car, so let's go and take a look, shall we? Pretty much everything on the car is done by hand. The body is made entirely of aluminium. These fenders, for example, are a single piece from the nose going all the way to the rear wheels. The bonnet, meanwhile, starts as a flat sheet of aluminium, just like the rest of the bodywork. Then it's hand-rolled until it gets the required shape. And you see these louvers? Every single hole is pressed and cut manually, so you can imagine how annoyed you'd be if you sneeze on the last vent and put it out of alignment. Like any other luxury car maker worth its salt, the interior is trimmed in leather, carpet and wood. Plastic B&W gear shifter aside, of course. But it's what you don't see that's especially intriguing. In most cars, wood is used just for decoration, a material that's both nice to touch and provides a bit of contrast. But here, as in all Morgans, wood is an integral part of the car. Under all this hand-beaten bodywork lies a structural frame made of ash, which is a method not too far removed from how the earliest car bodies were made. So, partly it's used for tradition, partly also because it's lightweight, durable, strong, yet also flexible enough to dampen out shocks and vibrations. Something I found especially impressive is this rear wheel arch. This entire section actually starts out as strips of ash, then they're placed in this giant solid oak jig and are clamped in place for half a day to get the shape. It's so old, apparently nobody can remember when the company first started using it, although rumour has it that at the time, Winston Churchill was still in power. That's enough of the fawning. Let's go see how the car drives, shall we? Although the Plus 6 looks like something my great-grandfather might have owned, it's actually completely modern under the skin. This body and wooden frame sit on a bonded aluminium chassis just like a Lotus Elise. The suspension at the front is double wishbones and it has a multi-link setup at the rear. As the gear shifter implies, under the split bonnet lies a BMW inline-six. It's turbocharged, a first for Morgan, and together with an 8-speed automatic gearbox. And not just any BMW engine, it's the 3-litre B58, the same one found in the Z4 Roadster and the Toyota Supra. It's got the same claimed outputs, 335 horsepower, 500 Nm of torque, but because the Plus 6 weighs only 1,075 kilos, 400 less than the Z4, its acceleration is expletive-inducingly fast, even quicker than the other two. 0 to 100 km an hour comes up in just 4.2 seconds, and it'll top out 267. Not that you want to be pushing those limits though. Surprisingly, given the BMW connection, the only electronic assistance available is ABS. Both traction and stability control have been junked, so you really do need to have your wits about you when you're driving this thing. Because with so little weight and so much torque, the rear tyres will light up in an instant if you're too used to having the electronic nannies sort things out for you. With no safety net to rely on, you need to have quite a lot of mental fortitude before you dare to start throwing this thing around. It's not especially friendly immediately because the steering is a little bit slow and a little bit heavy. The tyres are really grippy too, so there's not really much chance to really work the chassis balance when you're out on the road. And then, at the back of your mind, you're always kind of anticipating the rear stepping out. But because of the open differential sometimes spinning up the inside rear wheel, you're never completely sure what to expect each time you kick your power out of the corner. Quite quickly then, you start to realise that's not what the Morgan is about. Yes, it's a sports car, but the driving experience is one that should be savoured at a brisk pace rather than a frantic one. This is very much a 710s kind of car. It's much more enjoyable when you're sort of coasting into corners with engine braking, gently feeding in the steering, smoothly deploying the throttle and then riding it out on a huge wave of torque. Then, there are all the other non-driving aspects to experience. Feeling the wind buffeting around in the exposed cockpit, taking in all the sights and smells around you, and smiling and waving at the many thumbs ups or smartphone salutes people around you will give. With a Morgan, you're not just getting a car. You're getting more than a century's worth of history, tradition, expert craftsmanship, spirit, and reverence. You're also getting something that will turn heads as sharply as any supercar, but with less looks of jealousy and hatred. Perhaps most of all, however, what you're getting is soul and charm by the shed load, and that is something worth cherishing.